Women inherently want men to make the first move. Women are very passive by nature. The way girl game works is they just sort of put themselves in your vicinity and they make eye contact and they hope you notice, right? That's girl game. Boy game is like you actually have to be bold and make a move, right? That turns women on, that you're actually bold enough to push past that anxiety and make a move, right? Well, that boldness is hard to do on an app like Tinder or Bumble when you have to have a mutual match first. Okay. But once you get that mutual match, like you have to open, right? That's kind of how that works. But in order to even get that match, you have to have good pictures, right? Well, in public, like when you're walking up to women, you don't have to necessarily look good. That boldness by itself of just walking up, it sparks something in her brain, like, oh, man, that was a bold move. That, oh, I like that. I like that guy, pushing past that anxiety and not beating around the bush. If you do it in a very confident way where you're not hemming and hawing and going umming and uhing and like, would you might maybe think about maybe considering, I don't know, maybe giving your number, right? If you don't do it that way, if you walk up and you're like, hey, give me your number, right? That's a bold move. And women respond to that. Women respond to confidence and boldness the same way men respond to a great pair of tits. We're past the 8-minute mark. I can say that. Anyway, so apps reward looks, not courage. Well, cold approach, that it builds that confidence. And the more you do it, the more confident you get at it. The more confident you get at it, the more attractive you are to her. Doesn't matter what you got going on up here. It's that boldness and confidence is attractive by itself. It's not necessarily factoring in on your looks. That's why when you see ugly dudes or fat dudes with hot women, it's usually because they were bold, confident, and or funny, right? And women respond to that kind of stuff. In person, it's hard to recreate that kind of stuff on the apps. And so a big problem with apps is it tends to create passive men. Now, I'm not one of those guys that shits on dating apps. I love dating apps because they allow you to be more passive. Like it is such an efficient way to date if you know how to do it right. There's a method to the madness, right? But it does allow you to be passive. It allows you to meet chicks while you're sitting on your couch at home, right? It's awesome. That's great. It's like Uber Eats for vagina. It's amazing. But a lot of guys get frustrated because women are only going for the top 20% of guys on dating apps. Well, have you ever asked yourself, how do I get into the top 20% on dating apps, instead of going, well, they only do 20%. I might as well give up because I look at stats online and I look at reasons why I should just quit. No. We don't do that on this channel. Okay. We look at, how are they doing it? How are the guys succeeding doing this shit? Let me learn from them. Right. All right. I'm doing that with X right now, like Twitter, X. I'm like, I've decided, like, I really want to go hard on X. I want to make X like my primary social media platform, and like TikTok and Instagram, Facebook. I have big followings on like all the platforms, but man, I get shadow banned. I get account restrictions because I offend people. Elon doesn't give a on X, and I love that. I love that I can be myself and put out the kind of content I want to make on X. God bless Elon Musk, man. Anyway, back on topic. Divorced men struggle more, right? A big reason why divorced men struggle more, one, they've been out of practice for a long time too, but one is like their identity was shattered with their marriage. A lot of men put a lot of identity into that relationship. I certainly did. When I got divorced, man, I felt like an absolute failure. Man. Like my parents are still married, and I looked at that time, I looked at longevity like it was some kind of success metric. It's not. My parents are miserable together. Like they've been together, they're coming up on their 50th wedding anniversary. I think this year is their 50th, and they are miserable together, right? Well, so longevity is not a flex, but they're still together. And both sets of my grandparents, they stayed together until one of them died, right? And then they never got remarried after that. So when I went through the divorce, I was like the first one and then my Aunt Lynn on my dad's side, she never got divorced, right? And so I look at, like, I was the first Bauer, to go through a divorce, and I was like, I'm a failure, right? Like I put a lot of identity in that marriage, even though it was a failing marriage, right? So a lot of guys, their identity is shattered when that marriage fails and now they're back on the dating circuit and they sort of have this feeling of no one's ever going to love me. I felt that way. I felt that way for a whole year. Like I'm never going to find someone to actually love me. You know, it's not true. It's not true. Nurse Chick loves the shit out of me. In fact, Nurse Chick, I was telling my son about this. We were driving up to this weekend. We were driving up to the field, the family field. I spent every year we go up to we have 300 plus acres of land up near Craig, Colorado. And I thought it was 200 acres, but my mom's like, no, it's 300. It's the farming area where my grandpa used to farm is 200 acres, right? But there's still another 100 acres of other land that's a part of our property. And so we go up there, we fix the fence line and other stuff. Like my son and I hung up like no trespassing signs up there, which is stupid because like no one's up there. No one's going to stop people from trespassing. The signs are pointless. But anyway, we put no trespassing signs up and all that kind of stuff. And my mom sprays for weeds. It's a whole big deal. But on the way up there, I was talking to my son because he recently broke up with a girl. And it wasn't like the girl was treating him poorly. It's just she wasn't putting any investment in it. She would like he was always having to reach out to her, always trying to, get the ball rolling with her. And she just wasn't that into him, like that happens, right? And so I was telling him, I was like, look, man, like you've got to keep your options open. And he met a new girl out in Utah. And so now he's got this long distance thing going, which I'm like, that's a stupid idea, but it keeps you from getting girls pregnant. So I'm all for it while you're in high school. Anyway, so I told him, I said, look, while you're seeing this girl out in Utah, you need to be keeping your options open and talking to girls out here, And he's like, you want me to cheat on her? I'm like, you're not cheating on her. You're like, what? You're not exclusive. You're in a long distance pen pal relationship, I was like, you need to keep your options open until a girl locks you down. That's how it works, right? And I go, and when you do that, the cream's going to rise to the top. Like the women that are showing investment are going to actually start showing themselves to you. You're going to be able to tell because you're seeing multiple women at once. You're like, hey, this one always wants to spend time with me. This one like wants to make out with me all the time. Like this one is like wants to cook for me and wants to do all these nice things for me. And these ones over here, they're not that interested. Like you see that better when you're dating multiple women. And I said, look, when I go, Nurse Chick, like she's treats me so well. She treats me better than any woman I have ever met. She's put so much investment into this relationship. It's uncanny. In fact, Aaron Clary, I was talking to Aaron Clary about this the last time I was up at his place and we were at Sturgis. And I was telling him about all the nice things that Nurse Chick does for me. And he goes, you need to get her to write a book or something, right? Like you need to get her to write a book for women and tell women how to do this shit, right? Because he's like, most women don't do any of that stuff. And I go, I know. Anyway, she's writing a book. Shout out to Aaron Clary. Avoidance is a silent killer of masculine confidence. What you avoid controls you. Okay. Every time you dodge discomfort, you reinforce fear and shrink your confidence. And then you beat yourself up for not doing it. Right. That's why, man, I put out a meme yesterday talking about how avoiding women isn't going to bring you peace, bro, because all you're doing is going to thinking about what if I did do that though? Like, what if I was successful with chicks? And it's just going to eat you alive. And you can't get rid of that urge to be with women. We are hardwired to be with women. Men are wired to be with women. We're social creatures by nature. Humans are. And so being alone in your cabin in the woods, it's going to drive you insane. So what you avoid actually ends up controlling you. It starts like you won't be able to get it out of your head. And then you're going to try to constantly tell yourself, I don't need that. I'm MGTOW. Liars. Avoidance feels safe, but it costs you, right? It slowly erodes your edge, making you doubt your power, your value, your instincts, right? You start becoming less and less of a man, and you start getting less and less confident, and you start doubting yourself more. It ends up being a negative feedback loop. That confidence, in order to build that confidence, it requires action on your part. Okay. One of the things that I learned when I was first studying the stuff, I learned from one of my mentors, Dr. Robert Glover, is that thinking causes anxiety, but taking action cures it. Okay. So if you're constantly worried about talking to women and that builds up a lot of anxiety in you, stop thinking about it and just go talk to them. One of the things that he talks about, we'll probably get to it. I haven't read through the notes for a while. One of the things he talks about is the 3-second rule. The 3-second rule, which is you give yourself 3 seconds. You see a girl, you have 3 seconds to go talk to her. If you don't just tell your mind to shut the fuck up and go talk to her in those 3 seconds, you're going to talk yourself out of it, right? So you got to remember, most of you are overthinking, and talking yourself out of talking to women. It's really just a buffer for rejection. You're just trying to avoid being hurt. But you'll find the more you do this, it doesn't hurt, right? It doesn't hurt. Avoiding women, it's just the symptom though, guys. Okay. Let's talk about what that fear is really protecting you from. Before we get into all that though, do consider following me on social media. The links are in the description. I'm on all the good platforms. Follow me on X. Don't just follow me on X though if you're not going to be on X. I don't want just random people following me, right? I think brother David from Wolfpack was like, oh yeah, I'll follow Paul on X. I've never used it before, but I'll sign up for it. Hey, do any of you guys use X? I don't get it, right? Like, so I think he followed me on there, but I don't think he's actually using it, right? But I want people who are active on X to follow me on X. Okay, don't just follow me to follow me, all right? Guys, get my free ebook. Fine, here's how to get her back. A lot of you guys are thinking about getting your ex back because this dating process and cold approach is building up too much anxiety for you. And it's like, oh man, this is too much trouble. My ex is kind of low hanging fruit. Maybe I should go back to her. Maybe I should try to patch things up with her. At least I know how that will go, right? I don't recommend that, but you know what? There is a proven strategy to get your ex back. There's a link in the description. I'll show you how to do it. But when you get this ebook, I'll also tell you why that's a terrible idea. And then what I'd really recommend for you guys to do is get my new book. It just dropped Friday. Forget That Bitch. You can find that at books.comeonmanpod.com. It's now available on Amazon and Audible. I'll drop a link to that here in the chat. But let me ask you, you ever feel like you're doing everything right, showing up to work, paying the bills, keeping it together, but deep down, something's broken since the breakup? You go through the motions, but the confidence, it's gone. The spark, it's missing. Well, here's the truth that most men never say out loud. After heartbreak, it's not just your relationship that ends, it's your identity that gets shaken up. And if you don't take control, you end up sort of drifting. You lose your edge. And dating again, it feels impossible. That's why you're watching today. But that's why I wrote this book. That's why I wrote Forget That Bitch. It's not therapy. It's not motivational nonsense. It's the raw step-by-step game plan to rebuild your masculine confidence from the inside out. And if you've ever struggled with approach anxiety, rejection, or just feeling like yourself again, this is your roadmap. It's available now on Amazon and Audible, links in the description. And it's also, I think I pinned it in the chat too. I dropped it in the chat just now. If this message hits you in the gut, then by God, this book was written for you, my brother.
New episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Subscribe now.